I thought I would talk about something dealing with control freaks. If somebody doesn't like something that you've said, then they obviously don't want you to expose them for what they're doing. Um, I kind of have to laugh about it. They're just some really bad control freaks. And a control freak, well, it also goes two different ways. A control freak can be a control freak because they always need to have their egos massaged, or I tend to be a control freak because I'm kind of like in hiding that I've been burned bad enough, and it's like I don't even like picking up the phone. I don't like talking to people. I very rarely have anything to do with anybody, just because of the severity of the burns. But both basically, I know when I've been harmed. I know. What's sad is I even know who has been working secretly behind the scenes to destroy my life. And that's that. What's really wild is I think that's part of the reason why I ended up that things didn't make sense to me even when I was a young child, way back when. And I think that's the real reason why I've spent so much of my time reading, not only reading but working in the area of mental health. And that's what's really sad is that when I saw what was going on, it's just like this stuff didn't make any sense to me. And what's really sad is that I have firsthand knowledge of seeing some very sick and twisted individuals on the top of different uh helping professions. I'll just say that much. Very sick and very twisted. And in fact, one of the guys that was very sick and twisted was a supervisor, and had a psychology degree, and he ended up giving a minor an alcoholic drink and tried to. He was married, and he gave a minor a drink at an office party and tried to sexually molest the girl. And he knew that she was dependent upon either her parents or another family member to pick her up. And what was very sad, I don't want to go into the details, but basically, uh, I was fired for go, going to the what do you call it? Regional director or whatever it was. Retaliated against was what I was trying to find. I There's a reason why I drink coffee. Sometimes it's just like it's especially since basically some of the stuff is just there's also something called vicarious traumatization, and that basically deals with I mean can't even think straight right now. So sometimes people who or kind of like the first responders to different things end up having their own set of wounds from being around different traumatic situations. My intent is uh, just because somebody's on the top of the corporate ladder does not mean that they're up to any good. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I really I cannot stress that enough. Don't think that because and it's just like not all narcissists are quiet. Many narcissists are quiet, but it deals with kind of like can't do a one size fits all scenario. Because I've known other narcissists that are just like the it's like the toy where the dentures you turn the knob and the dentures go clatter 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 and they just and they're just constantly talking. And I mean, I kind of like an analogy of that kind of narcissist is it's kind of like a gnat, GNAT, flying up my nostril, and it's just like, oh gosh, how pesky. And that's just why I'm like that. There's never a one size fits all, never. And that's also part of the deceivability of a narcissist. But I also look at, I mean, it's just like and some of the ones sitting there and saying, oh, we'll go and make sure to do this and make sure to do that and all that kind of stuff. And uh not actually disclosing what they're up to. I could go more into the details as far as things go, but it's just like so many sins of omission, so many times of lack of full disclosure. Uh, I mean, it's really sad. Uh, I mean, and one of the first things that they like to do is discredit uh, the people who actually have firsthand knowledge of what they did. Oh, most definitely. I could go into just some stuff, and I mean, it's just like people would look at me like I had a screw loose. And that's part of the reason why when I go back and I think about it, it's like, oh, and it's kind of like being a detective and going, that's how he did it, or that's how she did it. And that's part of the reason why it's a very and and they play on people's gullibility. That they even brag about playing people like a fiddle and having people wrapped around their finger and being uh having very high IQs, and that deals with like the grandiose narcissism and stuff. They're very arrogant, and that's what's really scary about school testing and other stuff. Think about it. Oh, so just because it reminds me of what's her name, Tyrion Shiavo, whatever her name was. It's like, oh, so her husband fools around on her, and he's the one that was able to be given the permission and basically murdering his wife. I'm like, just like, what the frick? I mean, but once again, whoever ended up making that decision to allow him to decide to pull the plug did wrong, and that's what that to me is an example of how somebody enabled wicked. It doesn't mean that they're getting by with it. What I'm getting at is that to me just screams but basically intentionally choosing to do wickedly. But not only that, let's say they physically were just like Tyrion Schiavo. Would they have wanted somebody to sit there and pull the plug on them? I mean, think about that. At what point did the wicked just like lose so much touch of reality of, oh, so basically they're saying that if they were Terry and Schiavo and had all sorts of different physical problems, that they would want somebody to pull the plug on them, is what they're basically saying. And I'm like, there's just something wrong with that kind of thinking. In fact, I'll take a step further. There was something where some people had tried to kill themselves, and their attempt at killing themselves did not work out, and that they later talked about how they were glad that basically that they didn't die when they had tried to commit suicide. Excuse me. Someone went down the wrong way. My point being is never give the devil a touchdown. Never think that killing self is the answer to a problem. Mm-mm. Never, never, ever, ever uh, give 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 a devil a touchdown.